really just begun.
Connor McDavid looking brilliant.
This is one of the most spectacular young players come into the National Hockey League in a long, long time.
And he is going to be a superstar in this league.
Like Team Europe, another squad with a chip on its shoulder going into the World Cup of Hockey 2016 is Team North America. Not only are putting guys from Canada and the United States together, but also restricting the roster to players that are 23 or younger on October 1st. Here's the management group, Stan Bowman from the Chicago Blackhawks and Peter Chiarelli from the Edmonton Oilers. This has to be one of the most unique assignments you've ever had.
It's been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of work, and we've had a lot of help from a lot of people. But you're looking at players that are changing every day, which it's been pretty cool.
Must have been going through and going, is he 23? How old is he? That ever-evolving process.
Yeah, you know, we talked about that. I think the fun part is these are the guys that are just kind of starting their career, and a lot of them haven't had a lot of NHL games. But as Peter said, as the years gone on, some of them have emerged as important players on their teams. So, you know, we're pretty fortunate to have these guys. It's going to be an exciting team.
What about two rivals? They come up through the World Junior process and the junior ranks, and they're Canada, United States, and they go at each other. Now you're putting them in the same room.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out. I mean, I think I'm going to lay that one on Todd.
Yeah.
I think the competitive spirit, you know, whenever you become part of a team, I think if you're an elite athlete, I think eventually you gel with the other group. So I think that'll be fine, but I can't tell you. I think it's one of our challenges, but it's not a primary one.
What's another major challenge for your team? Is it playing and not being intimidated against older players?
Intimidation probably isn't the thing. It's more lack of experience. I think, you know, we've got a lot of guys, this is their first year in the NHL. We do have some guys on our roster, as you'll see, that have been in the NHL for a couple of years. I think these guys are going to play with a lot of abandon and a lot of excitement. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is we don't have as much experience as the other rosters we've seen so far.
Todd McClellan is your coach. Let's get to your first 16, and let's start, Peter, with your goaltenders. And there's no secret here. This was the area that you're probably most concerned about.
Yeah, but as the year went along, we start to feel better about it, and which is why we're going to name 3 goalies. And our first goalie is John Gibson. Alphabetically, he's our first goalie, so...
So you're not going to tip your hand as to who's going to be your number 1 goaltender.
Darren taught me the...
No, that was brilliant.
And he plays for the Anaheim Ducks, has really come into the forefront this year, and playing on a contending team, and big, strong, athletic, has a lot of international experience. So our next goalie is, again, alphabetically, is Connor McDavid. He's spent a good amount of time with Winnipeg. Again, has some international experience at the World Championships. Another big athletic goalie, and he's now down in Winnipeg's farm team. But we've seen a lot of him, and he's developing, and he's one of those guys Stan's talking about that's emerging and popping up. And the third goalie there is Matt Murray, who had a terrific game last night, and again, a big, strong, athletic player with some international experience in the juniors. And all of these guys were not question marks, so to speak, but they were just at the stages in their careers at the beginning of the year, and when we started planning, where we weren't sure where they were going to be, and we thought that we'd have to be scouted in the American League following March 1st. But they've really played well, and they've allowed us some flexibility. Where
are you at with your defense? And take us through the names that you'll unveil today.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to talk about before we get into the actual names is just some of the things we've talked to our coaches about. And ideally, if you can have a mixture of right-hand shots and left-hand shots, and it doesn't always work out that way. But as you see here, it's worked out in the first 4 names here. We've got 2 lefties and 2 righties. So starting at the top, and we've got Ryan Murray and Aaron Ekblad. And you think, you know, looking back at Ekblad's emergence, you know, he's only been in the league a year and a half, but, you know, it seems like he's been in the league for 5 years or so. He's really asserted himself this year, and I think he can do a little bit of everything on the back end. We've got teammates here. They're not listed that way, but one of the nice things about Ryan Murray and Seth Jones is, you know, they have played together some. And whether they end up as a pair or not, I think the potential for them to be you know, the familiarity of those two is something we liked. Obviously, Seth is a player that I know very well from his days in Nashville. Tremendous talent. He can do a lot of different things, his skating ability. So I think, you know, we like the size. We've got some big guys here in Ekblad and Jones, and Morgan Riley's emerging as well. And I think, you know, Morgan brings some things to the table. He's got some experience. You know, he's been in the league now. It's not like it's his first year in the league. So, you know, as a left-hand shot, that's something we didn't have a lot of when we're looking at some of the other candidates. So the fact that he really had a strong season was nice for us to see. It gives us some confidence. We've got two lefties here. So of our four defensemen, it's a nice mix, and it'll lead to some tough decisions as we go down the road.
We'll get to the forwards in just a minute. Have you guys hold on, because we're going to chat with Aaron Ekblad right now. And Aaron, when you look at this roster, and you're on the 23 or under team, I have trouble putting you in this category when you skate with a 44-year-old every night.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we obviously have some good chemistry. We've been working it fairly well with all of our younger and older players in Florida. But yeah, we have a good mix. Definitely not an under 23 team in Florida, that's for sure.
So what's going to be the biggest challenge for your roster going into the World Cup of Hockey?
I think it'll just be gaining respect. I mean, obviously, you know, we're a young team, and we don't really have a lot of expectations going into it. But you know, I think we do have a chance to win it. I mean, you look at some of the names on that team. You know, some of the players that can do quite a bit of damage, and you see them doing it in the NHL. So definitely a team that you won't want to take lightly.
Have you looked at that list and picked out one guy that you want to skate with the most?
Connor McDavid. I don't know if you're talking defense partner, but you know, if I'm talking a guy that you know, you see every single night making a play happen every single shift, it's got to be Connor McDavid.
What do you think it's going to be like to be? Were you just adjusting the camera there? I thought I lost you for a second. What do you think it's going to be like from an intimidation point of view when you're going up against these older groups, these established national teams?
Well, these are all guys that we played against in the NHL. You know, whether it's one or two or three or even more years in the NHL, some of the guys on the under 23 team have an experience. We've played against all of these guys, so we know what we're doing. We understand the kind of players that they are and the kind of skill and danger that they possess, and obviously they'll all be calculated, and we'll be able to take care of business.
One thing I do like about the young players is you're all so tech savvy, so that's good. Appreciating the FaceTime. Good luck.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
There's Aaron Ekblad, Florida Panthers, and part of Team North America, as we continue with Stan Bowman and Peter Chiarelli. Forwards. This is where there's an embarrassment of riches when you look at the 1-2 pick from a year ago. And McDavid, and you knew that Jack Eichel would be part of this, but run this list down for us.
Well, I'm going to start with the two with the most experience here, Couturier and Saad. These are players that have spent a number of years in the league. With Couturier, he has a strong two-way component to his game. He's got good size. He's a good matchup guy. He makes plays also. Todd, our coach, is very familiar with him, having had him as a real integral component on the World Championship team this past spring. Brandon, Stan knows him well. Big, strong, power forward, can play both sides. Having a really good year. Net drive, he's got some leadership, and both have good size too, which is important in building this team.
So you and Brandon have made up now after you traded him?
Yeah, I actually had a good talk with him today, and he was honored to be part of the group. And, you know, like Peter said, we've got a lot of, well, I'm sure we'll talk about them in a moment here, exciting offensive players. And, you know, when you talk to the coaching staff, they also remind you that somebody's got to kill penalties and somebody has to do the dirty work and be a safe player. And obviously Couturier, he's playing that role on his team. He's got a lot of games under his belt. So, you know, when you look at this group, we've really got an interesting mix because we've got three guys with a lot of experience. If you add Monahan, Saad, and Couturier, and then we've got three first-year players in McDavid, Eichel, and Larkin. You know, and I think the interesting thing is just the difference in that we're a young team, but we do have a few guys here that have been in the league for a couple years. So, you know, when we talk about intimidation or being able to play against players, these guys have done it, and I think they can sort of mentor some of the first-year players here.
You know, we all love our national teams, but this experiment with Team North America and being 23 or younger is going to be fascinating to watch. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on the first 16.
Thank you.
Peter Chiarelli and Stan Bowman as we recap Team North America and their initial 16 is starting in goal. They went with 3 goaltenders right away. And then you see the blue liners and Ekblad and Jones, Murray and Riley. Dylan Larkin, from where he was at the start of the year, now he's going to play in the World Cup of Hockey. And of course, the greatness of McDavid and Eichel together. Off of last night's spectacular performance in Buffalo, here is Connor McDavid joining us, part of Team North America. You guys come up through the ranks and you're taught this great rivalries between Canada and the United States, and then they throw you guys together and you have to get along. What's it going to be like?
Yeah, it's going to be obviously pretty different. You know, a situation that is very unique to everyone. But for a lot of us, we're not really the same age. I know for myself personally, I think I've only played against a couple of guys that, you know, have been named. So, you know, for the other guys that I've never played against, there's no real rivalry or anything like that. But it'll definitely be different.
Are you keeping track of who has more, Canada or the United States?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm sure they'll just take the best players available, and you know, whether those turn out to be more Americans or more Canadians or split right down the middle, I don't think it really matters either way.
You know, one of the more unique parts about this is that you and Jack Eichel are going to be on the same team, skating in the same direction for the same purpose for the first time. That may not happen again. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I think that is definitely a situation that is unique as well. I think this might be the only time we ever get to play, you know, with each other. So that is definitely pretty cool.
What do you think is going to be the biggest obstacle for Team North America?
You know, it's tough to say right now. It's still very early on in the process. You know, I think the main thing is young players, they generally make mistakes. I think that's what everyone, you know, kind of generalizes about young players. And, you know, we have a bunch of them. You know, the whole team is made up of them. So I think just trying to keep the mistakes down, and that would be the main thing.
I realize that there's no rivalry with Team North America, but, you know, nobody wants to lose to the kids. You guys might be collectively, with the other 7 clubs, the one team that nobody really wants to lose to because of your ages.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely fair. I think you know, the vets always kind of look at the young guys or the rookies, and you know, think you know, they definitely can't lose to us. I know there's not a whole lot for us to lose in this situation. You know, a lot of us, or you know, a lot of people looking in don't really expect too much. But I think we have definitely the talent to maybe surprise some people.
You're used to breaking new ground. You continue to do it. Thanks for doing this, Connor.
Thanks a lot.
And then you look at the guy that steps up and establishes himself on those big stage moments from the start of the year where he got established, and then coming back from the injury. Last night against Eichel, just dominates with the 2 goals. Can you imagine him and Larkin on the same line? Speed.
You know, I look at this team, and it seems like the forgotten guy for me in all of this is Nugent Hopkins in Edmonton. And there's no question with McDavid there and the talk of the Eichels of the world and that matchup that he's kind of a forgotten guy. And I think it's been understood that he is on the outside looking in. If there's going to be a major trade, he's going to be one of them. We know it's not going to happen anymore with the trade deadline gone, but he will make this team. I'm telling you right now, Nugent Hopkins will be on this team. You know what? He's got 300 games. You find me another guy on that list that's played 300 games.
No, and I understand that, but I'm looking at, and one of the things that both Stan Bowman and Peter Chiarelli said was the roles of players. Couturier is going to be a defensive zone kind of guy, matchup guy. Monahan, big, strong, down low kind of guy. Then you got McDavid and Eichel. What about Austin Matthews? What about Austin Matthews in this whole thing
I'm sorry,
as well?
but I go to Nugent Hopkins before I go to Austin Matthews.
What about Mark Scheifele?
Okay. And he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder because he wants to prove that he is a great player again.
That
and
tells
whoever
you that there's
trades
great
for
depth
him,
here.
and whoever trades
This is a
for
fun
him
team,
is going to get a great player.
Can this team win games?
Well,
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, you look at their top 4 defensemen, you say, okay, they're all pretty good, but what kind of drop-off is there going to be after this group of defensemen? And then you say, whoa, I mean, you've got Hanifin, Kidd, Ceci, Parayko, the St. Louis kid, Goss to spare, and Hamilton is a veteran who's played a lot of games all of a sudden as a youngster. So you know, I think when you put that defense together with their size and their mobility and what they can create, coupled with the defense or the forward group that's going to have great competition for a guy, even for Nugent Hopkins to fit in, I think this team is going to really challenge and beat a lot of teams in this tournament.
We're using, you know, the word intimidated. It's more like just inexperience, as the manager just said. Every one of these players play in the top 4 defensive pairings, or they play in the top 6 forwards. They all play in the National Hockey League against the best teams in the National Hockey League. They will be ready for this. They will be ready for this.
Is their goaltending good enough? I mean, they're kids. They're inexperienced kids with the exception of Gibson, and he's not that. They're great prospects.
Hellebuck has got that right in the bank. What he did last year in the World Championships and his work this year. Senior World Championships, no problem.
There's a lot of people that think Matt Murray might be the goalie at the end of it.
Yep.
And they are, I mean, they're great prospects.
Hey, but what worries you, though?
Well, obviously the experience is what worries you. When you get into a clutch and you've got to say, okay, yeah, it's great to have Eichel and it's great to have McDavid, but you're going against Jonathan Taves in a head-to-head matchup when it really counts and the game on the line. So that's the thing, is as great as these kids are, that experience of big moments, Doughty, who's won gold medals, Stanley Cups, where does it fit in when it really comes to the crunch? That's the challenge for them. But
let's bring in another member of Team North America, and Jack Eichel. And last night, a great showdown against Connor McDavid as you guys went back and forth. But I'm curious, how many times have you ever been asked to play alongside your biggest rival and play in the same dressing room?
I don't even know if we're rivals. We've played against each other a lot, but, you know, 2 different divisions, different sides of the continent. So, I don't know. I guess we've been paired together for a while, but it's gonna be a great experience. You know, there's a lot of really good young players that are gonna be on this team, and I'm just really happy to be a part of it.
Jack, you play against Team Canada in the World Juniors, and it's not warm and fuzzy. I mean, come on. How is it going to be when you're lacing the boots up next to them?
No, it's never warm and fuzzy when you're playing against, when it's a U.S.-Canada game, but yeah, it's gonna be great.
Jack, World Juniors, World Championship, everyone talking now that you guys won't be intimidated, but lack of experience. Do you feel the same way after experiencing everything you have now at the NHL level? Will that even be a factor?
Yeah, I think it should help. You know, you get the opportunity to play in the NHL this season and play against some of the best players. So, you know, going in the tournament, I think you're going to see a lot of familiar faces that you've played against before. And you know, for some of these guys, you know, they've been in the league for 2-3 years now, so there's a lot of experience, and even though the guys are young.
Jack, you're a natural centerman. Will it help you playing some National Hockey League wing with the Buffalo Sabres if you were asked to play the wing, because there is a wealth of riches at the center ice position?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, nowadays, you know, most forwards are pretty versatile, so you know, if asked to play wing, I think you know, I'm more than, you know, comfortable to do that. You know, I think center is my natural position, but, you know, I can play the wing either side. I think, you know, I think majority of the guys could probably do that as well.
Jack, bringing 2 nations together. I look forward to seeing you guys in action on Team North America. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jack.
You know, what we should do is get a camera in that dressing room. The best battles might be inside that dressing room.
North American team is a group of young, talented players who will skate in black and white. Check out this sweater. The crest and uniform features highlights of red, signaling the high energy we expect to see.
Gotta like that jersey.
That's a brand new sweater. The schedule, Team Canada at 6:05 Eastern Time, and then at 6:45, Team USA. We've got Team North America, then we'll split them apart with Team Canada and Team USA as we break down the first 16 members of all 8 teams, the World Cup of Hockey 2016 on Sportsnet.